Carol E. Brown Rogers was born October 15, 1934 to Garmin Frederick Brown and Elsie Lavelle Red Brown in Haley, Idaho. Carol was raised in the Cary area and attended Cary schools where she graduated from high school. Childhood memories recorded by my mother Carol included spending summer Sundays going on picnics with the extended family of aunts, uncles, and cousins on her dad's side of the family. There were 4 girl cousins that were near the same age. They spent a lot of time at their grandfather's house sweeping, making his feather bed, and thinking they were pretty good housekeepers. She remembered a black pot-bellied cook stove in the living room. It kept them warm and produced many meals. There was no electricity or running water. They used coal, oil, and gas lamps. Farming was done with horses and hand labor, where her father and grandfather worked together. At harvest, a large makeshift table was made off the front porch by setting up sawhorses and placing boards across them to be able to feed the crews that came through. All dishes were done in dishpans filled with water from the reservoir and heated on part of the kitchen stove. The working men washed up in a tub outside and were fed first. Her mother was a very good cook, and Carol stated she was amazed that her mother accomplished all that she did. Carol's first memory of a home was when her parents bought and moved into a house that had 2 bedrooms and a front room. It was attached to a lean-to, which was the kitchen and the back porch. The bathroom was a ways out back. They took a bath in a number 3 bathtub in the kitchen with water that was filled from the reservoir and heated on the stove. Later, a lot of water was hauled in buckets from the well where it was pumped by hand. On wash days, the washing machine and rinse tubs were filled with water heated on the stove. White clothes were boiled and run through the wringer before they were washed. The wet clothes were placed in a pile on the table while fresh water was drawn. Then they would be washed again. The clothes were hung outside on a line to dry year-round. In winter, Carol said the clothes froze solid and usually had to be brought in to finish drying by the stove. She could remember coming home to a steamy, clean house about once a week. That was the day everything was scrubbed and deep cleaned. Supper was usually bean soup and bread and butter. Thus were her humble beginnings. Lessons of hard work. As a young girl, World War II broke out, and she remembered a couple of her uncles and other friends and relatives being in the Army. Carol remembered that she was 7 years old when Pearl Harbor was bombed. She stated that workers in help for farming were extremely hard to find. Even during wartime, the families would go up to the river and have picnics. At these get-togethers, everyone would join in all kinds of games. Some of the group would just fish. These activities were their recreation time. Sometimes on Saturdays, they would go to town and get groceries and maybe go to the show. Admission was 10 cents. During the winters, they would make their own ice skating rinks in the fields and ski on the hills of some of the farms. She even remembered making homemade skis. Carol described their Christmas trees as having lights run by batteries. She stated she got a doll most every Christmas. The last doll she received had real hair. Along with that was a table, chairs, cupboard, and a doll bed made by her father. Christmas dinners were spent together with extended family. They took turns as to where it would be hosted. After Carol graduated from Cary High School, she moved to Twin Falls with her close friend Cleone. They both had jobs at Fidelity National Bank. They rented an apartment together until Cleone got married. After that, Carol stayed with friends, rented another apartment, and worked until she met Will O'Neill Depew, who also worked at the bank. They married on December 13th, 1953. Their son Andrew was born on February 9th, 1955. This marriage ended in 1961. Carol had moved to Gooding and was working at Federal Land Bank. She met Bob Rogers while living and working in Gooding. Bob was a recent widower with 6 children. Carol had her son Andy. It was then that their story began. Carol and Bob married on June 1st, 1962. The two combined their families, and as the hospice nurse noted, we became the original Brady Bunch. They then had 2 children together to complete their family of 9 children. Carol continued to work part-time in jobs outside of the home. She worked part-time outside and full-time in the home to raise 9 children. She drove bus for 17 years, and she kept books for Doug Wood's business as well as for Bob's auto body business until they retired and served the mission. Once all of the children had graduated from high school, Carol began working part-time for Gooding County, and then quickly worked into a full-time position doing child support enforcement and welfare for the county. Upon her retirement from the county, Bob and Carol served a full-time mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Richmond, Virginia mission. The area where they served was in the outskirts of the mission and was actually in Husky, North Carolina. This time of service was very much enjoyed. Prior to serving a full-time mission, Carol and Bob worked every Saturday in the Boise, Idaho hotel. They drove every Saturday for 13 years from Gooding to Boise. At that time, Carol started to have significant health issues, and a pacemaker for her heart was required. Many other church callings were filled by Carol. She served at her primary, the Relief Society, both state and ward levels, humanitarian aid services, social services, and as a full-time missionary. Thoughtfulness of others and willingness to serve others were very much a part of her everyday approach to life. Carol and Bob did a lot of work to maintain and improve their home and 40 acres of farmland. Carol had a talent of sewing and loved to work on quilts. Most all of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren have a quilt or some sort of sewn project that was given to them by Grandma or Grandma Gray. Many changes within the world and within our local area have transpired during Carol's life. From her meager beginnings of having to haul water from the reservoir to the comforts of having her own home in Anchorage, Carol influenced the lives of many people. Carol has left a posterity of 49 grandchildren and 102 great-grandchildren. The amount of people that will attend family gatherings has continued to grow. Carol would openly welcome each new face and include them in whatever activity was going on. As recently as last year, Carol hand-embroidered pillowcases and provided a set to each of her children. Her generosity and giving heart were noticed by all of the children. Even during her last couple of days, she was able to have a newborn great-grandchild laid in her arms. She was in and out of cognitive tracking at that point. When we asked her if she remembered the baby coming to visit, she smiled and replied, "I held him." Carol was a hard worker and willing to share all that she had with others. Her grandchildren all expressed a great love and appreciative feelings with Carol as she spent her last couple of days at home. She celebrated her 50th wedding anniversary with Bob in June of 2013. The last couple of years involved great health struggles for Carol. Even though she experienced frequent hospitalizations within recent months, she was able to spend her last few days in the comfort of her own home and with her family and a husband surrounding her. Although this is a short tribute and very short description of one woman's life, the numbers of her posterity are great. The numbers of acquaintances who call her a great lady and a loyal friend are great. Carol was a talented woman who frequently spent time making something for others, visiting with others, attending games, sporting events, and community events. She attended for her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and devoted time to her husband. Gratefulness from friends and family members of every age has been overflowing into levels that are really hard to describe. We know that Carol is now free from the confines of health problems, frustrating episodes of confusion, and the ongoing pain of chronic illness. The hospice nurse visited and spent time with Carol and with Diane and I, and she made several touching comments that have stayed in the mind of us girls. She said, I know that there's one lady waiting on the other side with open arms to greet your mother, and she will gratefully say, thank you for raising my babies. As the time wore on and we watched my mother struggle and labor to breathe, the nurse said, I have the strongest impression that she was an extremely hard worker. And she just wouldn't quit till the job was done. We had to agree. The nurse would take her vitals and her heart rate would be in the 150s. She explained to us that it was like Carol was running a marathon and her heart was having to work really hard at the end of the race. Despite the level of work it took for her to remain with our family the last few days. Mom did not quit until she deemed the race was over and she could proudly cross the finish line on her terms. It is with great love that we pay tribute to this amazing woman who taught and influenced the life of so many others for the better. In the words of the singer-songwriter Randy Travis, it's not what you take with you when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind when you go. We all anxiously await the times we can be with her again.